Hi. Okay, so here I am today with Laura Sygrove of the New Leaf Yoga Foundation, which is an amazing organization doing work for yoga with youth. So I'm going to talk to Laura about what she's doing and about a new campaign they have going on right now and all sorts of other exciting things. So hi, Laura.
Hi, Roseanne. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good. Okay, so let's just start off with just a really basic question. Tell me a little bit about New Leaf Yoga Foundation and the kind of work that you do.
Basically, New Leaf is a charitable organization. We were founded in Toronto in 2007, so we've been around for almost 5 years. And our mission is to bring yoga, to youth in Ontario, and specifically to youth who are facing a lot of challenges in their lives. So we mainly work with young people who are incarcerated or have at some point been in conflict with the law, youth who tend to be growing up or living in neighborhoods with high incidences of violence, youth who have been in abusive situations, and those kinds of big challenges that they faced.
Mm-hmm. How do you define youth? What is the age range?
How do I define youth? Oh, that's a good question. Basically, people between the ages of about 12 to 24. So there's a pretty big age range that we work with.
Mm-hmm. And you started in 2007, and my understanding is that you're one of the founders as well as the current executive director of the organization?
Yes. So I co-founded the organization with Jess Robertson. And I'm the executive director, and I'm also a teacher for New Leaf. So I work with young men who are incarcerated currently.
Okay, yeah. And what inspired you and Jess? And Jess, I understand, is a Moksha Yoga leader, right?
Yes, she's also the co-founder of Moksha Yoga. Okay. I guess what inspired us was just pretty simple. Like, yoga's had a big effect in our lives. I know for me personally, I faced some hardship in my teenage years and growing up in my household, and yoga really, I felt like, offered a form of healing that was different than what I was getting from like traditional kind of talk therapy. So because it impacted me in that way, and because, Jess has her own stories of how yoga has helped her in her life, we just felt really passionate about providing that opportunity to people who maybe otherwise wouldn't be given the chance to do yoga, or even know a whole lot about yoga.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I understand that New Leaf has a big campaign going on right now called Warriors for Peace, and it's a big fundraising campaign. So yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about this campaign and what's involved with it?
Sure. The campaign's really exciting. We love, the name of it is kind of like a play on maybe, the word warrior and what sometimes people might tend to think of as a stereotypical kind of strong kind of fighting warrior, and kind of giving it a more soft, sort of peaceful kind of vibe. The campaign was meant to basically target the yoga community and try to, I guess we had three main goals. One was to bring the yoga community together, to work together for a common cause. The second was to raise funds to keep our programs going and allow us to reach out to more youth. And then the third was to basically inspire or encourage studio communities to take a look at what they could do with their studios to promote peaceful practices. So within their studios, for example, to commit to peaceful conflict resolution if they ever have issues with staff, or issues that arise within their own studio environment. And also to ask them to look at ways that they meaning the studios themselves, could help make yoga more accessible and reach out and bring some people into their studio that maybe so far haven't been going there.
So it's a fundraising and awareness building and sort of educational campaign all rolled up in one.
Yeah, that's what we hope for. And so far we have, it's really awesome. We have about 16 studios across Ontario that are participating this year. And we're within $2,000 of our $30,000 goal, which is pretty awesome.
Okay, wow. Yeah, and what other sources of funding do you have? How else do you sustain the organization and your work?
That's a good question. I love that question because it gives me a chance to say how awesome the yoga community is. Mm-hmm. And by yoga community, I mean like just, you know, the studio community across this province, and beyond this province, actually across Canada. So many yoga studios, studio directors, and people within their communities have just like come out of the woodwork and been so excited to support us over these last 5 years. So we have been very, very, very lucky. I think our cause really spoke to or speaks to people at yoga studios because they, you know, they love what they do and they also feel excited about making yoga more accessible to more people. So people have really jumped on board. And a really big source of support for us has been the Moksha Yoga community. They're a pretty vast community of studios. They're running a really exciting campaign right now called Speak Your Piece. And that's like all the Moksha studios across Canada and the US that are raising 2 months of karma funds for us. Okay. So studios in the community have been really, really huge supporters. And then individuals that hear about us through yoga studios have been supporters. We hold events. We have a couple of donors, just individuals who have heard about us and been really excited to lend a hand. So we've been very lucky.
Well, the cool thing about providing yoga for youth is that we've all been youth at some point, right? We've all been young. We've all been teenagers, and you know, most of us have young people in our lives. And as well, in nurturing an organization like New Leaf, studios are nurturing the next generation of yogis. So I think that it's really essential that there is that support. And so you're based in Toronto, and you've alluded to a network around and through Southern Ontario. So do you have any plans to reach out to other parts of Canada or the US? And do you know of similar organizations doing similar things in Canada?
Yeah, that's a great question too. We definitely, it seems like probably from the first few months that we were offering programs back in 2007, people have been asking us about offering programs out of Ontario. And that's really thrilling because, you know, I think there's a huge need. And it's been something, to be honest, we've kind of struggled with a little bit because one of the reasons I think we're really good at what we do is because we've kept things fairly contained. So we build really strong relationships with the people that we partner with, the youth facilities, youth organizations that we work with. And we have a really strong kind of support system for our teachers. So the question for us has been like, how do we do that well with things that are further away? Mm-hmm. And it's something we're still, you know, we're really excited by it. We have ideas. There's stuff that, you know, are still in development, but 2012 is, you know, our board has kind of placed it as a goal to like this year really put some energy into that. And I think we're really ready at this point. We've got a strong thing happening in Ontario, and we have some solid ideas about how to empower people to do something similar where they are. So I have to kind of keep it on the down low for now, but things are in the works and more to come soon. More to come soon.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I'd like to hear a little bit too about the challenges and rewards of being involved with something like New Leaf. So both for yourself personally and professionally, and for the other teachers. How many other teachers are there?
We have, including myself, we have 12 teachers right now.
And how many organizations do you partner with?
9.
Okay, great. So what are some of the challenges and rewards for you?
For me personally, and you know, I think the challenges I experience personally are very similar. They come up, I find, with a lot of the teachers that work with us. I would say one of the big challenges is you know, coming into contact with youth that we work with and building a relationship with them. And then sometimes in a lot of the environments that we work in, specifically in the jail settings, often the way that relationship comes to an end is kind of abrupt, and we don't necessarily get a chance to say goodbye. You know, youth get transferred or get released with no notice. And so that working with like attachment has been challenging. And continues to be, although, you know, I think the longer you do it, the more you have skills to deal with that. And that's one of the reasons why we have a close network of teachers, so we can lean on each other for support. keeping our expectations in check and our hopes for the youth in check, and kind of remembering continuously that we're not there to like save people, and people aren't broken, and it's really important that we listen to the youth, and that we create a space where they can sort of tell us what they need, and we're there to help facilitate that, but we don't have answers for them, So that's kind of like what I have found challenging, but also really exciting, and that relates to like what's rewarding for me too, is like learning to be better at that, and just learning from the youth that we work with, and knowing that we're not just there. It's so easy to fall into this role of teacher, or like have an idea of what a teacher is supposed to do, but I think there are teachers too, and the experience is very rewarding once you open up to that and kind of let go of like, I'm supposed to give them something, or I'm supposed to do something or accomplish something.
Interesting. So let's hypothesize and say that there is an enthusiastic person in Vancouver who loves New Leaf's work, but is, way beyond your network and wants to start up something like that in their own community. So what kind of advice would you give this person?
My advice would be to learn as much as you can. Go into the work with as much support and as much information and education as possible. And still, with all of that, let go of thinking something. If that makes sense. I mean, just related to what I was just saying, listen to the people that you're working with, and similar to what I just said again, like let go of what you think you're trying to accomplish, so that you can let people have their own experience, but definitely get as much support as possible. Again, I think that's kind of what's somewhat unique about New Leaf, is that we're not just training teachers and then they go off on their own to do stuff. Like, these are really supported programs. So even if someone wants to do this work and they don't have an organization to get that from, build a network of people, like youth workers and other people that are involved with yoga, and people who have maybe experience with trauma-sensitive yoga and things like that. Build a network of people around you that can support you when you have a difficult class, when something does come up that you don't know how to handle. Because the work can be very challenging, and I think one of the biggest challenges with this type of work, like working with youth who are coming from kind of like high-risk situations, is that we're at risk of burning out. Like, teachers are at risk of kind of, finding it so difficult that we feel like we can't go on with it, and so just making sure that it's done in a really supported way, that you're not sort of going it alone. That would be my main piece of advice.
Cool. And my final question for you is, how can people contribute? How can they donate? How can they make a contribution to the Warriors for Peace campaign?
The Warriors for Peace campaign, you can go to our website. So it's www.newleafyoga.org. And if you go to the events page, I think, or how you can help, either one, you can make, I think it's the Warriors for Peace campaign. We've extended it now to individuals. So I mentioned it was for studios originally, and now to sort of get the last $2,000 or so, we're extending it to individuals who can become warriors. We're really encouraging individuals to like know that any amount makes a difference. Like, I would love to see like 1,000 people donate $5. I find that really exciting in a different way than I find someone giving a big chunk of money, because it's just like cool for people to know that something that's affordable for them does have an impact. So even if you think you can't afford a whole lot, I would encourage people just to give what they can if they feel inspired to.
So thank you very much, Laura, for taking the time on this cold winter day to talk to me about New Leaf Yoga and about the campaign. And I'm just going to click stop.